Good evening. Glad to have you with me. Hello, and thanks for being here. Our topic this evening will have a lot to do with sugar addiction. But I've made a decision. And the decision I've made is that until I believe that you are clear and have an understanding of your own body's functioning, you will never get to a point where your maintains you in a balance with your world. All the years that I have been doing this, I have found people who are struggling. And we have all kinds of discussions about that struggle. And people say to me, and this is something extremely critical, Dr. Schwartz, my urges overwhelm me and I end up giving in. We need to address that. And if you stay with me, maybe I can help you understand how, by going through the process with me, you will have a lifestyle that's enjoyable and weight will not be a problem. Now, the first thing I want you to understand is that in the earliest human times, we called them cavemen. They didn't have a world that we have today. Finding food was difficult. And if they couldn't find food, they would starve. Nature is very interesting. I am not going to embellish that in any way. I'm going to call it the nature of things. And one of the interesting things is that there was not an overweight problem with the cavemen. And the reason there was not a problem is that when they could not find food, they would have either starved to death or nature made plants and roots that were sweet. These fruits and berries contained sugar, and the caveman used that sugar to survive. That phone will be picked up for me. Now, what that sugar did was give the caveman energy so he could survive. They didn't have farms, they didn't have processed foods, they didn't have what we have today. But that sugar hormonally impacted on the caveman. So inside us is that primitive part of self that recognizes sugar as something for survival. Let's move ahead to where we are today. And you hear over 50% of the people in this country are overweight. And there are 1 million diets. And none of the diets work. And the reason they don't work is because they don't address the problem that I want to focus you on, give you understanding, because if I can do that, we can move ahead and develop a solution to the problem that is going to continue to exist. How many of you have gained and lost and gained and lost and gained and lost? And you try and you do whatever it is that you can. And yet, when I discuss it in different variations, what I hear from most of you is exactly the same thing. Dr. Schwartz, I get an urge, and that urge is so strong that I'm overcome by it, and I give in. I was talking with one of my patients who came 7 years ago when I was still doing some psychotherapy. And one of the problems that he presented was the fact that he had dieted on and off most of his life, and here he was overweight. And he said to me, I don't understand. I diet, I feel good, and as soon as I'm finished with the diet, I begin to put on weight. And no matter how much I try, I'm never successful. Now, what I hear then is there is this urge. It comes from within. And let me help explain it as I did a few moments ago. The primitive brain inside all of us is the same brain that was there when humans developed on Earth. We may be different sociologically, but the brain is the same, and that brain needed sugar in order to survive. And that is the underlying issue with today. Look around you. Look at the labels of foods, no matter where you go. There is hidden sugar in everything. And that sugar addicts you because it touches your primitive brain. It makes you feel good. It makes you feel happy. It makes you feel comfortable. And the more sugar you take in, the more sugar you need. Now think about that. The more sugar you take in, the more sugar you need. But there is a problem. Sugar gives you energy. Sugar gives you a high. But you can't live on sugar. If I were to feed you sugar, and it's interesting, they did a study of some animals. For 1 month, they altered their diet to a high sugar diet. The animals developed anxiety and fear. They became feeble. And then they brought in normal, healthy animal food. Ready for this? For 2 weeks, the animals refused to eat. They would go over to the food, they would smell it, and they were starving and they didn't eat. It took 2 weeks for their bodies to detox. And then slowly but surely they began to eat. All of them became addicted to sugar. But their bodies were failing because they were not being nourished. They were just given energy. And that's what I was showing you with regard to primitive man. The sugar that they had gave them survival because it also helped differentiate between poisonous plants and berries, because most poisonous plants and berries are bitter. So the sweet ones were the healthy ones and helped them get on. Now, those animals, those urges that we talk about, we're not looking for food. We're looking for that underpinning of sugar, which gives us that high, that gives us that good feeling, that gives us that comfort. And it overrides everything. Many places in the literature, they will tell you that sugar is more addictive than heroin. Now, if you are addicted to sugar and the foods that you eat are high in sugar in many hidden forms, understand that the people who manufacture food have one thing in mind. They want you to buy their product. And the better it tastes, the sweeter it is, the more you're going to buy it. And you're going to buy it because it tastes good. And because it tastes good, you're going to buy it. But here is the problem. The sugar does not nourish the body. It gives you energy. It gives you comfort. But why is it, for example, on AccuWeight Loss, the first 2 weeks, you've heard me and our consultants constantly talking about cleansing and detoxifying the body. Why is it that people have certain symptoms during those first 2 weeks? Answer: they are having symptoms of withdrawal. It's one of the reasons you've heard me talk about, and I may get back to that later, why I believe so strongly in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, but not now. So that first 2 weeks on the program, the body is being cleansed and detoxified, and you are withdrawing. And that withdrawal during the cleansing process allows your body to start functioning in a more appropriate and healthy way. Now, survival is built into all of us. That attempt at addiction is connected with the good feeling. And remember, in the primitive brain, that sugar was used to survive because they did not have what we have to go any place and anywhere and get food. They did not have all of the processed foods that we constantly see. Look at the cereals you have in the morning. Look at the ingredients in most of the products that you eat. No matter where you turn, sugar is there to grab you, because the more you grab, the more you need. The more you need, the more you grab. And here's the problem. Many of you have heard me say that in early human times, the body learned to store fat for storage, so that in times of famine, that fat could be used for energy. Here is the problem, though. There are different kinds of fat, and the fat that is created by carbohydrates and sugars is for immediate energy, except for one thing. The body's receptors become desensitized to it. Many of you have seen it yourself. It's not sweet enough. It's not sweet enough. And the reason it's not sweet enough is because the receptors can't deal with it, and so you need more to get the same feeling. And here's the problem. You take in these foods. The body uses them for energy, but now you're taking in more and more of these foods. The sugar is not used now for energy, and so the body converts it and stores it as fat, instead of using the fat that the liver normally would use to convert into sugar. There are now these extra stores of fat. It's wonderful that my phone is ringing. It's being picked up, so thank you for putting up with me in that regard. So what I'm saying to you is, the reason we are overweight and do not lose is because we do not focus on one, cleansing and detoxifying our bodies, and building in a system. We just had holiday time. People were eating to their heart's content. Now, if we don't do that, the whole quality of our life changes. Now, I spoke to a number of people this morning. It's after the holiday. Easter is over. The Passover holiday is over. And some people have put on 5, 6, 7 pounds. And other people have put on almost nothing. I have said to them exactly the same thing. It's over and done with. The holidays have now passed. You've gotten through them. If you overindulged, you put on some weight. Let's now refocus and let's learn what we have to do in order to build in these periods of time in our life so that we can always look forward to holidays, vacations, ceremonies, weddings. What would life be without those kinds of things? But put that over there. If we focus on that now, we're never going to learn what we have to do now. Now, number one, the first 2 weeks are cleansing and detoxifying. So we're getting the sugars out. And as I pointed out in that study, it took the animals 2 weeks to cleanse and detoxify before they were able to eat normal, healthy animal food. Up until that time, they were literally starving themselves to death. Because when the normal food came by, it didn't give them that high, so they didn't eat it. That's a true addiction. So the first thing we have to do is accept the fact that the urge for that high is incredibly addictive. And I use the word just the way I'm saying it. Incredibly addictive. Therefore, the first 2 weeks are us cleansing and detoxifying. Once you do that, the need to cheat, to get that sweet, to get that feeling of comfort. And by the way, notice the symptoms that you have upon withdrawal: anxiety, sleeplessness, anger, impatience, depression. All of those are you withdrawing from sugar because you're not getting the high. And almost nothing makes you happy. So understand, accept the fact that most of us have become addicts to food. And the food that has the sugar in it, which is most everything, including pretty much all processed food, that's going to hook us. And that's why we're going to have a weight problem. And let's not talk about all the secondary issues of health that occur when and because we're overweight. So what's the answer and the solution? The answer first is we have to detox. And the only way to detox is for you to say, I'm going to do something to take all the sugar out of my life, which will allow me to detox. But hey, Dr. Schwartz, how am I going to do that? Because you just said to me a few moments ago, those urges are so incredible that they come at me, they come at me, they come at me, and I always end up breaking down to get that feeling. But that feeling is never enough, and so I get lost in the process. That's where and why I created the magic protocol. It's an urge. It comes at you without ceasing. It comes at you, it comes at you, it comes at you, it comes at you, and it doesn't stop. You have the urge. I want it, I want it, I want it, I want it. And a little bit is not enough. Because when you have a little bit, you need more. And when you have more, you need more. And it doesn't end. So I created the magic protocol to give you an opportunity, if you're aware and thinking about what it is you really want. Remember what I said. You are not looking for food. You're looking to satisfy the addiction. Now, if you want to satisfy the addiction, see ya. Let's not talk anymore. It's there, you know it, you've experienced it, and you've constantly won, gained, then lost, then gained, then lost, then gained, then lost. And the process constantly repeats itself without you moving forward. And the weight goes up and up and up and up. So first, we have to cleanse and detox. And as we do that, we're going to have withdrawal symptoms. And the urge is going to be there, and it's going to pound in our heads. It's not going to go away. And we have to, hear me? We must satisfy that urge. And that's the key to who we really are. I want to satisfy that urge. The urge doesn't tell me how to be satisfied. But we are intelligent human beings. I started out, when I developed the magic protocol, of saying to you, it's a methodology to help you with the urge. Now here's the key. You cannot say no to the urge and end up being successful. You must satisfy the urge. Now, if you satisfy the urge on your terms, then you're in control. If you satisfy the urge by giving in, we go round and round in circles and we never go anywhere. I went from the Werther's sugarless candy to the Tic Tacs, and you know I've come back to the magic protocol using the Dr. John's lollipops. Now, the reason I like the lollipop is because you have a stick in your hand. And if you have a stick in your hand, you're in control because you can do with that stick whatever you choose to do. And because it's in your hand, you're conscious of it. It didn't just fly out of the sky into your hand. You went and got it. Now, there's a candy at the tip of that stick. And that stick has a non-nutritive sweet on it. When you take that sweet and put it in your mouth, it tastes sweet. The addiction says, I want sweet. I want sugar. I want something. You're consciously saying, okay, urge, I hear you, and I am going to give you something. You're not going to keep that lollipop in your mouth. You're going to take it out. And now you're conscious of the fact that you gave yourself something. It certainly was not as satisfying from a sugar point of view as the cheat. But number one, you did it, and it did have some satisfaction on two levels. One, it was a little sweet, and two, it prevented you from cheating. So you took an action that met the need of the urge. Maybe not 100%, but it certainly met the need of the urge. And it was a bit sweet and satisfying. And each time you put the lollipop in and out of your mouth, you recognize that you're not cheating. And maybe it takes 2 lollipops. And let's press it. Maybe it takes 3 lollipops. Each lollipop is going to last you 5 to 7 to 8 minutes. If you use 3 lollipops, close to a half hour has gone by. You haven't given in to the urge. You've stayed in control. The urge goes away. And the more you use the lollipops, you become aware of the fact that you're controlling the urge and satisfying yourself for a second reason. You're detoxifying. You're not giving in to the urge. The sugar will no longer be number one on the list. Satisfying you and being controlled will be on the list. Why not be the boss of your own life? Why not recognize that it's not your fault? The food industry is seducing us. And I'm not blaming them. They want to make money. And what they give us tastes good. There's no question about it. I have an addiction for something that people in my life know. I am an addict for strawberry shortcake. I love strawberry shortcake. And if I have a choice between having strawberry shortcake or a salad, there's no question. But one of the things that happens most of the time is I have the strawberry shortcake, and I do every once in a while. And I love it. It tastes good. And then it's finished. And I don't know about you, but I want more strawberry shortcake. It's never enough. I could eat the entire strawberry shortcake, and unless I feel full, I'm never satisfied. I need more. But when I detoxify, the urge for meeting the addiction of that sugar diminishes and disappears. And now I have choices. And that's where we go in phase 2 of the program. First, we have to control the addiction and lose the weight. The program is geared just to that. And anybody will tell you that the intermittent fasting part of AccuWeight Loss, with people's present understanding, is wonderful because your body is using the sugar to survive during that period of time from when you finish eating until you start eating again. It cleanses, it detoxifies, it keeps you stable hormonally. Now, the next part of where we need to go is the process. Once we accept what we need to do, of saying, I'm stepping up for me. I want to cheat. I'm addicted. I want more and I want more and I want more, but it's not good for me. But I don't want to be without it 100%. I'm not going to answer that question now. You're right. If I said you could never have it again, then we're taking all the joy that comes with those things and feelings out of your life. But if I can teach you how, remember you've heard me say time and time again, it's not what you eat, it's how you eat. While on the program, we're learning to live without food. We're learning to cleanse, detoxify, get in control. Not only cleanse our body, but make it healthier. Whole process of losing that weight does all kinds of wonderful things for us on a health level. Now, once we've done that, comes part 2, learning how. And if you stick with me, I will teach you. That's what I'm all about. And I'm sorry, I don't want to hear you say to me, it's hard. You know something? It's extremely difficult. And the reason it's extremely difficult is the word we use. It is an addiction. And that's why I've used, as I said, Alcoholics Anonymous as a model for us. That's why we have the support groups that we have. Do you realize when you go to one of the support groups, you're talking to someone who has the same problem that you have? And they are there because they want what you want, to overcome that problem. And together, that's what we're able to do. Because we support each other. We teach each other. We emulate each other. That's a terrific idea you had. I'm going to try it. And then maybe I will come back with something the same with you. Do the program. Definitely 2 weeks complete detoxification. And next time I'm here, I'm going to go further with the mental aspects of dealing with the addiction to food. Now, I'm going to answer some questions that were left, and as I've said many times before, I can be reached at Dr. S at AccuWeight.com. Dr. S at AccuWeight.com. I'm here to answer any question that you have. I will never turn you away. And if I do not have the answer, I will say I do not have the answer, and I will try to find it. Question number 1. Pardon me while I put on my glasses. I went off for Easter weekend and gained 5 pounds. A, B. Why did I gain so much so fast? What will this have effect after I lose the weight? Will I be able to keep it off? First and foremost, most of the weight gain over Easter was water weight. Pretty much anything that you did caused you to become somewhat dehydrated and your body held on to water. You don't gain 5 pounds in 4 days, in 3 days. Number 1, it will have no impact into the future. The biggest issue is once Easter ended and you ended your indulgence, it ended. You had every right to indulge. It cost you, you gained it 5 pounds, and now it's over. So let's go back on the program and take it off. So question number 1, it was water weight. You can take it off easily. Second part, should I do 3 milk days to take the weight off? The answer is no. AccuWeight loss is a chemical, not a caloric program. The milk days melt fat. The fruit vegetable days, high in enzymes, dissolve the melted fat. 3 milk days change the chemistry, and then you're not following the program. Next question. I'm just getting started with the program. What kind of salad dressings do you recommend? Salt, pepper, lemon juice, Mrs. Dash, adobo spices, all spices are acceptable. I also push my avocado dressing because it's a healthy fat to begin with. And with the good seasons or the Hidden Valley dry spices, it makes an absolutely delicious salad dressing. Vinegar is not permitted because vinegar is acetic acid Acetic acid alters the chemistry of your stomach and interferes with the chemistry of the program. You have to understand chemistry. It is what it is. H2O is always water. That's chemistry. H2O, water. H2O, water. H2O, water. But Dr. Schwartz, I'm only going to add another molecule of oxygen. Instead of being H2O, it's now H2O2. Is it water? No. It's now hydrogen peroxide. Is hydrogen peroxide the same as water? But it looks like water. Chemically, it's not. It interferes with the program, and therefore stick with the chemistry. I, for over 25 years, if I include before we incorporated, have been promising up to 15 pounds minimum every 30 days. How do I stay in business for 30 years if I don't fulfill that promise? You have to do the work. Don't alter the chemistry. Next question. I don't like milk. Can I use all yogurt? That's almost the same kind of question. I can understand there are people who don't like milk. The Chinese chose milk because milk contains, number one, your major source of protein, but also milk contains something called conjugated linoleic acid. The milk days melt fat. Keep it simple. Milk days melt fat. I do not know why more than half of the amount of yogurt cannot be exceeded. All I know is if you do all yogurt and don't do milk, it's going to slow your weight loss. What are the additives, the enzymes, whatever that go into yogurt? I don't understand. I've never been able to understand it, but half milk, half yogurt, or all milk. Next question. I heard you could use 2 tablespoons of oil. If that's true, what would happen if I use more? Well, I like 2 glasses of wine. What happens if I use more? I did the program 8 years ago and kept the weight off until the pandemic. I'm in menopause now. Will the program still work for me? The answer is absolutely yes. The program has the ability to adjust the hormone levels in the body. Menopausal women do well on the program, and the promise is the same. Do the program properly, 15 pounds, minimum every 30 days. Thank you for listening. I hope to hear from you, Dr. S at AccuWeight.com. Stay well. More to come soon. Take care.